Okay, up next is Jeff Gordon. And Jeff is the driver of the number 24 AARP Member Advantages Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. And before we get into Jeff's media availability, I'm going to turn it over to track president Brandon Hodalski, who has a special recognition.
Thanks, Kerry. Thanks, everybody, for joining this weekend. Last night we had our fourth annual poker tournament, and Jeff and his foundation, NASCAR Foundation, were part of that, and thank you for being part of that. We raised $58,000 last year to be split between the two charities, and it's a testament to the power of the sport and the fan base we have. We can do that. But Jeff goes much farther than what he's done locally for us, and as a member of our extended race family, and Jeff always being a really good friend to the track, we wanted to, obviously, in his last year here, give him a little gift as an appreciation and gratitude for what he's done for us. And in the spirit of what my grandfather started, we're going to give you, actually, we're going to give the Jeff Gordon Children's Foundation a check for $24,000.
Wow, thank you.
All right, now you can have it.
Thank you, Brandon, and your entire family. This track has been really special to me over the years, and I thought it was enough that you just put my name at the start-finish line, but then what we did last night at the event, and then this above and beyond. So thank you. Perfect. I like it when things come together like that. Thank you. Kerry?
It's tough to follow that one, Jeff. Jeff Gordon, of course, for those who were able to be at the poker tournament last night, his foundation extends far beyond the NASCAR community. And that's just the type of professional athlete Jeff Gordon is. And class is what he is. Let's take questions now for Jeff Gordon. We'll start right here with Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires. Jeff, looking ahead, how do you feel about going to New Hampshire and breaking Ricky Rudd's Ironman record?
Well, talk to me about it when we get there. My body's aching a lot more these days than it used to. So there are no guarantees in the world and in racing, and so it's something that when I look at today in the streak, that I'm on currently, it's something I'm very proud of, and it's not an easy thing, to when you look at those numbers, it's pretty staggering, and it's not an easy thing to accomplish, and so we certainly hope to pull that off, and I think it would be certainly a great notch, when I think of all the stats and the great stats that I've achieved in this sport, that would certainly rank right up there, because the stats that you want to achieve are the ones that are very challenging and difficult, and I think it speaks a lot of my commitment and our team's commitment and to safety and for me of staying healthy and strong and focused on being in every single event that I could possibly be in.
Let's go to Joseph. Raise your hand, Joseph. You got the mic? We'll go to Joseph and then to Kelly.
Joseph Walken, frontstretch.com. Even though you're not going to be racing next year, what do you want NASCAR to do for the rule package for 2016? Is there anything you would like to see done?
Whatever package is going to create, the most exciting racing. I like the fact that NASCAR is really pushing the envelope and experimenting with different packages and ideas. And the thing is, every track sort of demands a little bit something different, and that makes it very tough on the teams to swap packages from track to track. If there was a way to find that balance there with cost as well as performance that also mirrored something with Goodyear and the proper tire for each track, then I would be very supportive of that. I think we all want to see, a little bit more of the cars running. I don't want to say in packs, but we don't want to see them spread out. But we also want to see more passing. Hard to get both of those things. Some tracks offer that when there's multiple grooves. Some tracks don't. So, I think I liked what I saw at Kentucky. I thought that was some great racing at a track that traditionally maybe we haven't seen as many lead changes or passes. And the way the cars drove there, I thought was a great challenge for the drivers as well. So, it's good when you see all the numbers kind of come together and the drivers liking it. I thought Indy was something I can't really comment on. I wasn't out there long enough, and I think that I would have liked to have seen that package draft down the straightaways a little bit more. I don't know how we create that, where we create this great suck up and the cars can just pull out and pass. I don't know how you do that, but that's certainly what is trying to be done. And maybe at Michigan it'll work a little bit better there. It's hard to say, but right now I'm leaning more towards the lesser downforce package.
Let's go to Kelly, and then we'll go to Stu.
Kelly Crandall from PopularSpeed.com. Jeff, last week so much was made about your final start in Indy, but on the backside of that, with a finish like you had, it still keeps you in that bubble spot of fighting for this chase. How do you feel being in that position? Do you feel secure where you are? And how do you feel about your team? Is this team ready to make the chase and advance through the chase?
Well, I was feeling a lot more secure going into Indianapolis. Obviously, having a bad finish like that, it can shake things up in a hurry. I think our team is very capable of getting ourselves in the chase. But we want more than that. We want to be battling for wins, and we're fighting extremely hard to do that. We know what a win can do in securing that spot. But we're also a strong team that has overcome adversity in the past, and we're going to fight all the way through Richmond to make sure that no matter what, whether it's by points or with a win, that we get ourselves in there.
Let's go to Stu, and then we'll go to Kyle.
Hi, Stu Hodem, NASCAR.com. You talked a little bit about it with Brandon Igdalski, but Sonoma's a home track for you. Indy's a home track. Would you consider Pocono a home track, a place where you've driven from New York to this race and taken your son to his first IndyCar race? And for it to come at this time where you're the all-time winner, when you're looking for that chase win, does it mean more to you?
I can't say a home track because I don't consider New York a home either. But certainly, what stands out to me when I think of racing in Pocono is I go back to when I raced on dirt around Pennsylvania and Ohio and Indiana in sprint car racing, and what huge, how big racing is in this state. And I think that was very evident to me immediately when I got into the Cup Series and started flying into the airports here. And it was always the biggest crowds of fans that we had anywhere we went, standing there waiting for the teams and the drivers to arrive, wanting to get a glimpse, a picture, an autograph. And that's been maintained throughout all the years. And when I put a fan club together, our largest number of members were from Pennsylvania, if you took it by state. This is a big racing part of the country, and I think that's why this track has continued to do so well over the years, because they have people that love racing and love NASCAR racing. And when I think of the memories that I have here, of course, I love the challenge that this racetrack presents on track. I've been driving for a team that has great performance on tracks like this as well. We've been known to get down the straightaways pretty good. This place has a lot of straightaway. But I also like the shifting and the unique corners that are here as well. So whether it's on the track or off the track, it's always been a pleasure to come here, and I'll certainly miss things like that when I'm no longer driving.
We'll go to Kyle, and then Mike. Did you have a question? Mike Embry, and then Lee.
Kyle Magnin, Wilkes-Barre Times Leader. Jeff, so much you've done here at Pocono over the years. You talked about how you adapted to this place. Is there a single moment that stands out to you that you have here over your last 22 years?
I wrecked really bad in turn one. That stands out. I mean, it's funny, you know, those types of incidences stand out to you, I think, as much as some of the good moments, you know, that you had. You never forget moments like that. Let's put it that way. You know, I can remember coming here early on, and maybe even watching a race here or an IndyCar race here on TV prior to me ever racing here, and just in awe of how long the front straightaway was, how fast cars are going into turn one, and I always said, boy, you don't ever want to have a brake problem going into turn one at Pocono, and I had one and experienced it. So that stands out to me. I'm sorry, but it does. Beyond that, you know, I mean, I just always like the challenge this racetrack presents. You know, to drive hard down into those corners, stand on the brakes, and downshift on, you know, what we call basically an oval is something that we don't do anywhere else, and that in itself makes it unique, and I love that challenge. You know, you got to take your hand off the wheel, you got to use the brakes, you got to keep the car underneath you, you've got to give good feedback back to the team to try to get the car to work better through the corners, and then you have 3 unique corners that you have to drive different, set up different. You know, when I think of Pocono, that's what I think of. It's just, I know they call it the tricky triangle, but it's true. You know, it is a very challenging, tricky place to compete at. Well, no, I hit pretty hard. I couldn't tell you what year it was. So I remember seeing the sky when I was going down there, and that was not a fun feeling to have. I don't know. Edwards maybe could tell you what year that was, but I don't remember. Yeah.
Let's go to Mike Embry, and then we'll go to Lee, and then Dan Gelston, and then finish with Candace.
Mike Embry, USA Today. This long streak of starts you've had, you raced in more than a few of those at some level of discomfort with your back, et cetera. Can you put in perspective what Kyle Busch has done in the last couple of months, despite the fact he really hasn't been 100%?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, when I think of Kyle, I think of Tony, you know, I think of guys that have gone through some major injuries, stepped outside of the car, and had to go through extensive rehab. And I've always heard just how painful and how tough it is to go through that. And you really, you'll find a lot about what you're made of in those moments. I'm thankful that I've never had to go through that experience, but I admire those that have, and you know how they push themselves to the limits, and I think that's what I've seen the most from Kyle this year is, you know, I think when we saw that incident, how bad the injuries were, we heard about how bad the injuries were, I think all of us thought, oh man, you know, 6-9 months before he comes back, and even when he does, what's it going to be like? And I mean, you know, he got back sooner than everybody thought, and he's been on a tear ever since. And so I think a lot of us would like to have a little bit more time off at home, but none of us want to do it that way. And so, yeah, I think it's pretty amazing what he's been able to accomplish.
Let's go to Lee, Dan, and finish with Candace. Go ahead.
After last week, I mean, obviously it wasn't the finish that you were looking for, but, you know, the outpouring of support from the fans on Twitter was pretty intense. Do you ever see a point where you would get back in a stock car for a one-off at a place like that, or once you get out at Homestead, as far as the Cup level, is that pretty much it?
I mean, right now I don't have any plans to. You know, you have to understand it's far more than just what maybe I would desire or want to do. I mean, it takes a team to do it. And that's a total disruption to the organization to go do a one-off race. You know, it's not that it can't be done, but as somebody who is an equity owner in the organization, I recognize the challenges that would come along with that, and what it would do to our 4 teams competing for the wins and the championship. So I probably wouldn't ask them to do that. And if I were going to do it, it would probably be at a short track like Martinsville or something like that. But I have no plans to do it. Yeah.
All right, two more questions. Dan, and finish with Candace, and we got to go with Dale.
Dan Gelston, the Associated Press. Jeff obviously will be back at these tracks as a broadcaster, but do you allow the I don't know, sentimentality of the moment set in when you go to these tracks, the last Indy, the last whatever, or is it hard, or you just race focus on?
I'm so focused on the competition and trying to, compete at a high level, try to get ourselves in a position to win the race, win the pole, be in the chase. I just can't. I haven't been able to allow that to sink in. And it might not happen until the race is over in Homestead. I have no idea, when that's going to impact me or sink in. It will at some point, I know, but I don't know exactly when. But it hasn't so far because, there's been moments that have been really special to me and that have stood out that I'm very appreciative of. Where, and it started with some of the things that the tracks were doing and some of the things that the fans were doing during the races on lap 24 and things like that are very, very cool to see billboards. And I'll, for a brief moment, go, oh, man, that's awesome that they did that. Thanks. But once you're under green flag conditions and you're in a race or you're practicing, I'm just intensely focused on what my job is and what I'm trying to do. I know I have a team that's putting everything they have into it, and I'm just trying to do the same, as a driver. And so I think that's really limited my ability to let it sink in. What's what the finale of things.
Final question over to the left.
Candace Smith, Drafting the Circuits. Jeff, we know that Ward Burton and Dave Blaney and Bill Elliott and Ernie Irvin, I could go on and on. These drivers are back, and now their children are in the cockpits, and they're coaching from the sidelines. In 10-year or plus time, is that something you think you'll be doing, or do you think that the school teacher, accountant, lawyer, what have you, job is what you're looking for your children if that's their desire?
You said it. It's their desire. They have to find what it is that they're passionate about. That's what I've always said is the most important thing to me. And what happened with me was, my parents presented something to me, which happened to be racing, that I was immediately attached to and became passionate with it, towards it, and it didn't matter how hard I had to work. I loved it, and I want them to find that. But as parents, we are going to be presenting a lot of things to them. Heck, my daughter surfed for the first time this week, and I was blown away. She was standing up on a surfboard. So it just you never know what it's going to be. You try to read what their personality is like and what things they're enjoying. But there's no doubt both my kids will drive a race car for fun at some point. And if it's something that they really attach themselves to and want to do more of and keep tugging on me and their mom to say, I want to do more of that, then we'll progress with it. But I'm not going to push that on them and make them think that that's what they have to do or try to follow in my footsteps. Yeah, thank you.
Jeff Gordon, thank you very much. Good luck this weekend.